What up? Cool Things with Rob here, the channel where we look at cool things. We are here at a vintage motorcycle race. Let's see what they got to offer.
This is a vintage event. This is for us old guys on old bikes. Cross country, which is through the woods. Flat track, which is a prepared banked oval. TT, which uses about half of the oval and breaks off it to a graded section. It has to have at least one right-hand turn and one jump. Okay. And it does. Actually, I like motocross best. I'm sitting on a 1967 Norton P11. It's a 750 twin, 750 cc's. They originally built it as a desert racer. This was introduced just as I got drafted in the Army in '67. And I lusted after one as a young man in the Army and got one when I got out. So I got it, rolled it off the showroom floor, took it out in the desert and scratched it up like you're supposed to.
You actually had a part in a movie with a guy named Steve McQueen. What's that all about?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be in a movie that was nominated for an Oscar. It was called On Any Sunday.
On any Sunday, stretching out, reaching high, leaving my Monday world behind.
Filmed by Bruce Brown, who made another movie that was very well known called Endless Summer.
Oh, really?
And it was a surfing movie. And he lived very close to where I lived, and I wasn't, trying to kiss his ass and try to, be buddy-buddy with him. But when I went to his house in Dana Point, Southern California, a real nice house that overlooked the ocean, he would let me bring my dates over to his house and serve us wine. And I was underage at the time, so I thought, here, I can take my date, dazzle her with a fancy house, get served alcohol.
The second rider who could win the #1 plate, one of the youngest, 20-year-old Dave Aldana.
So what did you do in the movie?
I just played myself.
His first year as professional expert. David Aldana, the crazy kid from Santa Ana, California.
He followed us around, and there was 4 of us that were going for the Grand National Championship. It was Mert Lawwell, Gene Romero, myself, a guy named Jim Rice, and another guy named Dick Mann.
On the BSA #2, Dick Bugsy Mann.
And we were all battling out for the championship, which garnered lots of money, and it opened a lot of doors. Seems like every time I come to a race, when I come to these vintage races, they bring their grandchildren around and they say, oh, this is that guy in that movie. Well, I'm that guy in that movie, but I'm not 18 years old anymore. I'm 70 years old.
He crashed 15 times during the year at speeds up to 120 miles an hour and was never hurt. David said you never know how fast you can go until you fall down. If he didn't crash, he often won.
Dave Kaufman.
Come on
I
in.
want to photobomb you for a second. We'll just have a quick... Hey, Dave, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, so, you remember these guys?
Yeah, AJS Stormers was the
Didn't
bike.
you used to ride them?
BSA at one time bought out, Norton bought out BSA, and Norton took over, and one of the bikes that they sold was an AJS.
And how was it?
Terrible.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, that's all.
That's the truth. You asked me, and
Thank you,
they
Dave.
paid me, but I couldn't win anything on it.
This is my 1960 matchless G12 650 twin. It was originally a street bike when it came from the factory. We turned it into a motocrosser. Yeah, it's a twin cylinder 650 twin. This is the primary. Clutch is in here. transmission, pre-unit construction, magneto, Amel carburetor. A lot of mods, got Triumph rods in it, high compression pistons. It's BSA conical rear wheel, Chiriani front end, Yamaha front wheel, Norton gas tank, custom pipes, and a lot of little things to make it a racer. Left the track one day with a broken finger, broken toe, 3 broken ribs. Came home pissing blood.
Nice.
A couple of months ago, I got run off the track, flat tracking, between 3 and 4, hit the fence, bike stopped, hit the fence. I flew through the air, did a somersault, landed on my head, knocked myself out.
And what keeps you in motorcycles?
I love working on them, I love racing them, good camaraderie, great group of folks that I'm racing.
What happens is you race when you're a kid, and then you go to college, and then you get married, you start a career, and then the kids leave, and then now you've got disposable income, so now it's, I'm gonna go back and get that bike that I raced when I was a kid and relive my youth. And that's pretty much the story for everybody here. Right now I'm racing a 1973 Hodaka Combat Wombat. And it's a 125cc motorcycle, and Hodakas were pretty much the first of the small affordable 2-stroke motors prior to the big 4, Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki. Hodaka broke the ice on that, and they sold a lot of them. So I ended up with one of those.
As a kid, I remember they're from Spain, right?
Yes, sir.
And so how did you guys end up niching into the Bultaco market?
Well, we've been in him since he was 14 years old. Man, most of my life.
Tell us about your bike.
It's a 1973 CZ, Czechoslovakian built, 250cc. And I used to race these when I was 15, 16 years old.
Yeah?
District 6, Pennsylvania, New York, and all that. And actually rode out in California, raced out there with it. But I bought this in the late 90s to race Arma Vintage. And it's really a great bike to ride, it's fun.
You're racing it today?
Racing it today, yeah.
Hit a vertical dirt bank at about 60, 65, something like that, and broke myself up. Ate the handlebars, things like that.
Physically, what did it do to you?
I shoved my mandible into the back of my throat and messed up my wrist.
So let me ask you this, you didn't see that as a sign from God?
Yeah.
And here
Stay
you
on
are.
the track.
Stay on the track, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, stay on the track, yeah.
And the times that I broke the only time I really got hurt, I broke my pelvis, my hip, and I broke my femur in 6 places. I happened to run into, which was totally, should not have been there, I ran into a mound of dirt going about 90 miles an hour.
And down the back chute at 125 miles an hour.
13 points out of the national point lead. He started on the pole. Jim Rice appointed his son. There's the ladder down.
It was Dave Aldana. The race was black flag.
Had that mound of dirt not been there, nothing would have ever happened.
And some guys give it all just to participate.
Pete Lawson, number 7A. He's a good friend to a lot of us here. Early 60s. He died in January from injuries caused by a motorcycle wreck. He wrecked at a practice session in Callahan, Florida in January, and was in some form of hospital or another for about 2 weeks.
Some guys play poker when they get older, and they get together with the guys and play poker. Others, golfing is another one. Well, this just happens to be motorcycle competition, and this is...
This guy rolling up to the starting line, his name is Bino Rodi. He is a vintage motorcycle legend that has been featured on an episode of American Pickers. Here's a look at his shop, Rodi's British Bikes, and he's got a few. I hope to do a whole Cool Things episode on Beano and his bike soon. Here he is racing his 1950 Royal Enfield 500cc Bullet. And by the way, he just broke his collarbone a couple weeks ago and still racing. Next to Beano here is my brother Dave on a 1950 Matchless 500cc. And by the way, this race they're lining up for is a brakeless class. The thought was, brakes just slow you down.
A two-stroke blender. Now you know how the settlers made it across to the west, and they kept themselves in margaritas, because obviously electricity wasn't invented then, so they used a gas-powered blender.
Obviously
Now
they did.
you know.
All right, let's see it roll. That is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
When you're yearning for the starting line, but your motorcycle is broke, you can always fire up your blender and have a drink.
So you gotta admit, that was pretty goddamn cool. Now get the hell out there and find something cool yourself.